Hi, it's me. We're going to create this card that I don't even know what to call it, so I'll just call it the 4-photo pop-out with a floaty thing in the middle. It's a bit of a long tutorial, so if you want to jump around, feel free to click around in the chapters in the description. Let's go ahead and get started. This is the base card. We are going to score it down the middle, and then we are going to fold it in half, and then we are going to go on to the flap, which is this right here. Mark half an inch from the left over here, and then half an inch to the left over here, and then connect the two dots. I'm using a pen with no ink to make the scoring line, and you can see that in this video. Next, you're going to mark it 2 inches from that left line right over here. Just mark it and then turn it, and then we are going to mark the middle right here. Once all that's done, we're going to connect those two dots together. So that way this will make the point of our little flap. Ta-da! So we're going to cut off those 2 corners right there, but last minute I decided I wanted to add a double score line, which is 1/8 of an inch away from the original long line we made earlier. Now we are ready to cut off these corners. Snip, snip. Now let's grab our piece of decor, which is this right here. It's pretty and embossed, and we are going to place that 1/8 of an inch below that line. So next we're going to make a little dot right here, which is 1/8 of an inch just above where we want it to fall. And then we're going to place this card that it's going to go on top of and line it up with those 2 dots. So we're going to trace it right here, and then trace it right there, and then we are going to cut that piece out. So let's cut it out, cut, and then now check this out. It's perfectly centered, and it's perfect, and it's great. Maybe not perfect, but it looks cool. So let's glue this down, and there it is, nice and glued. Next, we are going to fold along those double score lines. It's a little tricky because they're so close together, and we also want to make sure that these are extra deep, so use the back of a pair of scissors or your boning tool to make those creases nice and sharp. Then snip off these little corners so that when we glue it on our base card like this, because we're gluing it down right now, it will not hang out as funky. So there's our little flap, nice and glued down, and now we have a really pretty base card. So let's add in the last pieces of decor on the right and left sides, and now our card is ready for our mechanism. This is our mechanism, and when we are done marking it up, it's going to look like this. It's really not as scary as it looks. First, we're going to start off by making a 1/2 inch mark from the left side, and then another 1/2 inch mark on the right side, and then 1/2 inch from that we're going to make another mark, and we're going to repeat it at the bottom. So the theme of this is 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch there. So 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch there, and then another 1/2 inch there. Right? Not so bad. And then we're going to do the same to the top and bottom. 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch there. And you know what? I don't even know what the exact measurements are. All I know is it's 1/2 inch all the way around. So yeah, that makes it pretty easy. Just keep that in mind. Next, we're going to connect these lines as shown. So that one there, this one there, and then these last 3. So 1 line, 2 line, and 3 line. And ta-da! Now we've got that. So from that second line, we're going to make another 1/2 inch mark. 1/2 inch there, and then 1/2 inch there. And then in the middle line, or actually that second line, we're going to make 1/2 inch there, and then scoot your ruler, and then 1/2 inch there. You'll see 1/2 inch everywhere. So we're going to connect these dots so that it makes a triangle. So here is part of the triangle at that angle, and then another part of the triangle at this angle. Not too bad, right? So yes, 1/2 inch everywhere around. Next, we're going to mark what we're going to cut off, and we're cutting off basically these pieces right here so that it looks like that, a little man with arms. Next, we're going to fold it. So make these creases extra deep, so if you have scissors or a boning tool, press them down. There are a bunch of valley and mountain folds here, so just watch how it is being folded. These pieces right here, those triangles, actually fold in as shown. So now the little man can wave his arms. So in the card, it's going to move something like this. This is the mechanism, and it's actually just half an inch smaller than the other mechanism right there. And we're going to mark this in the exact same way that we marked the other card, keeping the mantra of half an inch all the way around. So you'll see that everything here is still just half an inch, and I did that mark extra. So watch this: half an inch, half an inch, half an inch, and then connect the lines. One line, two line, not that line, and then this line right here. So yes, and this line. So many lines, but they just look like that. So we're going to use those two guides as the half an inch from the second line mark, and then see, half an inch, and then we're going to do half an inch there, and then half an inch there, and then we're going to make our little triangles. So I don't have the exact measurements, I just know it's half an inch so that there is symmetry all the way around this little, what I'm calling the little man with the happy arms mechanism. So yeah, here it is. So then we're going to cut it out, and then like magic, we fold it. And now we're ready to put this into our base card. Get your base card and then your mechanism. The larger mechanism is going to go on the right hand side, and when the card's open, it's going to look like this. Flip the card around, or the mechanism around, and line up the central crease of the triangle with the central crease of the base card, and then mark it right there. We measure short and then we glue long. So when you flip back around, it will glue down so that it opens up nicely. So you'll see it right here. So add some glue to the glue tab, and then glue it down, line it up with the mark we just made, and then press it down really well. When the glue is dry, you can take the card and try to close it, and you'll see that that central piece kind of bends up. So we have to enforce its strength by adding another piece of cardstock that just fits right into that little rectangular area right over here. So this is just an extra piece of cardstock I have, and I'm going to glue it down, and it's measured and cut to fit in that area. So you could just take your ruler and measure it before you glue it. So now that piece should be really strong, and you can see it right here, it doesn't bend up as much. So let's get ready to glue down this tab, and we're going to glue it down what it looks like when the card's in the open position. So there's your glue, and then you press it, and then we press, and wait for it to dry. Now close the card and guide those little triangle pieces so they fold in, and then press it down. Sometimes we need to train the cardstock where to fold so that it does that nicely. So here's our second mechanism, and before I glue it down, I decided to put in that piece to reinforce the structural integrity of the cardstock right there, because it is going to push on that other mechanism. So there's the strengthening piece glued in, and now we're going to treat this end right there just like it's the central crease of the card. So we are going to line it up, and it's going to be just like that. So measure short, glue long. So here I am measuring it, lining up the central piece of that triangle, and then I'm going to make a tiny little mark right here so I know where to glue the other glue tab. So flip it around and then glue it. There's glue on that tab, by the way. And then press it and line it up with that little white mark. Not the white mark I tried to rub out, but the white mark I made earlier. So press it, and then we let it dry. When it's dry, open it up and then add glue onto this tab right here, making sure that when you glue it down, it is in the open position, because this is what it's going to look like when the card is open. Now we train it, like push in those little triangles and press it, press it, press it. When you open it up, it should open up like that. So yeah, make sure your glue's dry, otherwise it'll shift around. So this one's a little more training, and I think it's ready now. Let me double check one more time, and it's ready. So now let's go get the pictures that are going to be glued on. There are 4 little squares that will be glued onto each one of those little glue tabs right there. So we place a little bit of glue right here, and then we line up the photo so that it falls like that. Make sure that the edge covers up the edge of the glue tab. So you're basically lining up the corner with that tab. And then once everything is in there and the glue is dry, make sure your glue is dry, you'll be able to open and shut it. So here it is, it's shutting in, and look at that. It just moves in like a man waving flags now. To cover up the mechanism, we are going to use these two pieces of cardstock. I use cardstock that match the background embossing, so they are going to be placed right here so that the mechanism isn't showing, and I'm lining it up with the background card. When you place glue, place it into that little area and not onto those triangle pieces, because if you do, everything will stick together and your mechanism will no longer work. So there's the glue, and notice it's not on the triangle pieces on the side. So now here is the cover, and then here's the other cover, and I'm lining it up with the background card. So there. Now it really looks like the card is hiding in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. Now let's move on to the floating bar piece. There are two pieces, one for the top and then one for the bottom. To find the center of these pieces, you will fold it in half and just ever so slightly press it, and then take it out and then do the same thing to the bottom bar. So there's a top and bottom bar. And then once you find that center piece, you can use your ruler and a pen with no ink to score it even sharper. Next, I'm using my cutting mat to measure out 1/2 inch glue tab on the right side and 1/2 inch glue tab on the left side. So there's 1/2 inch there, 1/2 inch there. It's the mantra. And then another one on the other bar where it's 1/2 inch on this side for a glue tab, and then another 1/2 inch on the other side for another glue tab. So take these pieces and sharpen up those folds by pressing into them, and then we'll have one bar here and then another bar there. In this case, my glue tabs are going to be flapped out. So this one is going to be a piece to cover the wire in the back. It is the same height as the other one, and I'm just cutting it so that it will fall in between the two glue tabs. So here are the two pieces to cover the back, and I'm just going to fold those in half. No one's going to see them, but they will sit nicely behind the card and prevent the wire from slipping. So on each glue tab, I like to angle off the corners, and I do that to both of these little bars. So here it is, and there it is, cutting off the other bar to match the other side. All right, so now let's measure out where we're going to place them. It is 1 inch from the right and 1 inch from the left of the center of the card. This is where the glue tab is going to fall. So let's show you how. So for this glue tab, this one's going to go on the top. And see, I'm going to flap my glue tabs out so they're visible. You can tuck them under if you want to hide them. But the important part is that little bend is lined up with the mark that you made. So here I'm placing glue, and where it bends is where you place your little floaty piece. So just glue it right there. And then we're going to do the same for this one. Glue it, and then it's lined up with the crease. The mark that I just made. Next, take a piece of wire, beading wire, and we're going to measure it so that it's just long enough so that it covers that piece. So we're going to take a piece of double-sided tape and stick it into that crease. And we're going to do the same with this one right here. So it doesn't have to be double-sided tape. It could be Scotch tape or something just to hold it into the center of that bar, like so. So see where the bar folds? That's where the wire needs to go. So let's rip off the backing of the double-sided tape. Whoops. And then 2. And then trim your wire so that it's hidden completely behind those bars. Next, apply a generous amount of glue, and then you can glue that little piece behind it. So now the wire is completely hidden at the top. I'm not sure why I used black paper. I could have used pink and it would have been a little cleaner, but oh well. So now let's add on glue to these little glue tabs. And then we can line those creases up with the mark that we made. It's 1 inch to the right of the central crease. So press it down, and now we have a wire ready for our little floaty photo piece. I am going to open and close it a little bit to make sure the photo doesn't hit the glue tab. So maybe it is better if you hide the glue tab, but this works as well. So these are the little floaty photo pieces that's going to be attached to the wire like this. When you attach it to the wire, first you're going to take a piece of tape. This is double stick tape, and you're going to tape it down the middle of the bottom photo piece like this. And then that way it will stick to the wire quite nicely, and it'll be easier for the next part where you apply either more tape or double-sided more tape or glue, sorry, and then it will stick down and not go anywhere. So there you go. Now we have a little floaty piece. So when you open and close the card, it should roll over. If it doesn't, you could just push it down with your finger, and then yeah, I'm going to have to clean that off later. Anyways, let's move on, and these are two little photo pieces that are going to be glued right here on top of the mechanism. And like magic, they have been glued. So now our card is done. It's really cute, but one of the things is it doesn't shut because it's pretty thick in the middle. So go ahead and add a belly band to help keep it shut, or if you don't mind it opening and closing, just leave it alone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please comment down below and I will respond to you. If you like this type of stuff, please hit the subscribe button for more. Take care and have a nice day. Bye.